Hey John, it's Rowan from Silver Tiger Media. How are you?
All right, buddy. How you doing?
Absolutely awesome. What a thrill to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time.
No worries. Thanks
Yep.
for calling.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, before we get into Live and Louder, I have to offer humble congratulations on the brilliant Make Some Noise and Revolution while I'm at it. The evolution of the band over the last few years has been utterly thrilling.
Yeah, it's been I got to be honest with you. It's been a whirlwind since I joined. We've been very busy, and I kind of feel like this late in my career, man. It's kind of a blessing to be surrounded by the members of the band that I'm surrounded by. So it really makes everything easy. Writing music and recording. So it's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty cool.
Oh, most certainly. And I must admit, though, I've been having some trouble listening to Live and Louder and trying to find the ballad bit. If I can quote you, if there's no kids around, there's no fucking ballad.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think the closest we get to a ballad is probably, you know, Lock and Load or Something I Said, um, possibly Song and a Prayer. But yeah, it's pretty funny when we go out. It's pretty energetic. So, and the other thing is too, we don't, a lot of these places, or a lot of the tours that we've done, we've been an opening act for, Kiss and Whitesnake and, festivals and different things like that. So, we want to kind of keep the energy level up. So it's, I'm pleased with it though. I think it sounds great. I think, all the guys in the band played their asses off, and then, Doug obviously went through everything and found the best performances, and then Anthony Fox did a great job mixing it. So it's pretty cool. I'm stoked.
Absolutely. And look, I must ask you, while we're talking about Doug, are you not disappointed that you hadn't worked with him earlier on in your career?
Now, you know what? Honestly, buddy, I kind of I've got a very odd way of looking at life, man. I've had some really high highs and really low lows, and it's really kind of made me realize that everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Everything, even the lows. Like I feel like if somebody's getting it, if their head is getting too big, or things are going too good for them, the universe has got a way of slapping them down a little bit and making them, just giving them a different perspective on life. So, um, I think this was probably good for me and for Doug. I don't know. I know he was kind of doing some stuff with Glenn Hughes, but I got to be honest with you. Like a lot of a lot of the bands that we were in, and I got firsthand knowledge as far as being in Motley. When I was in Motley and we released our record, there was a lot of music that was out at that point. Or at least in the American markets, it was that whole kind of grunge thing. Everything was anti, 80s, or anti a lot of those, hair bands or whatever. So
Yeah.
I just kind of find it's funny to me. Like right now, being in my 50s, I've been doing this for 30 years. And I got to be honest with you, man. It's just like I'm kind of having this weird resurgence in my career since I joined the Daisies. Yeah, so I think everything's awesome, and everything happened exactly the way it's supposed to happen.
Absolutely. And look, I don't want you to think that Doug and I have been collaborating behind the scenes with your questions, but do you think that it's fair to say he's bringing out the best in you? Now, that's clearly from Doug.
I think Doug is a wanker, and I don't like him because he's way too attractive, and he's got really good abs. Plus, he can play the guitar okay. I'm not whatever. No, it's honestly, I think like I was saying earlier, I just feel like it's, for me, it's truly a blessing to sit. I mean, how often does a singer get to stand on stage in front of people like Doug's caliber on guitar, Marco's caliber on bass, Brian's caliber on drums, David's caliber on guitar, and then just stand there and, be the ringmaster. It's pretty awesome. I can't complain about it. And I think, the cool thing about this band is that everybody writes, everybody contributes. We all do everything together. So I don't do any more than David. David doesn't do any more than Doug. Doug doesn't do any more than Brian. You know what I mean? We're all kind of in this together, so I think the band, everybody's got their strengths and their weaknesses, and everybody else kind of, it just works. I can't explain it. It just works.
It would seem that each individual protagonist and their skill, knowledge, but more importantly, everybody's collective experience has just gelled in a way that makes this live album explode. We can hear what a Dead Daisy show is like live.
Yeah, and a lot of people sit here and they've pegged us like, an all-star group or a super group or whatever. And, in all actuality, I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more, at the end of the day, like, we have all done this for 20, 30 years, for a long, long time. We've all kind of figured out that we're not always going to be on the same page, but we've kind of figured out a way to say, hey, I'm not really totally sure about that idea. I'll try it, but I'm not totally sold on this. You know what I mean? Whatever. So you can, we've kind of figured out how to, we all agree most of the time, but when we disagree, we've kind of, because we've been doing it so long, we've kind of figured out how to disagree and not be, for lack of a better term, assholes about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that comes with age, without sounding like, I grew up with Moses and Jesus Christ as a side note asterisk. I did, but whatever. It comes with age and, we've all made enough mistakes at this point. Like we can't figure out, that didn't work for me in the 80s or 90s. Why would I do it now? You know what I mean? Then we're just being stupid. So it really is cool. And like I said, it's when you sit in a room with the last couple records we've done, we all sit in a room together. Everybody plays guitar. It's crazy. But even Brian, our drummer, is a monster guitar player.
He's
Brian
good.
could be the lead guitar player for any band that you could think of. He's that good. So we all sit in a room together when we're writing, and it's just, Brian will throw some things on the table. Doug is throwing things on the table. David is. Marco is. I am. And then you've got a guy like Marty Fredrickson, who is not just a producer, but also a co-songwriter. So, we'll get the songs to a certain point, and then Marty hears them and he goes, oh, wait, well, here's a fresh set of ears. And it doesn't suck or hurt that the guy, co-wrote songs like Jaded by Aerosmith, and, I mean, the list goes on and on. He's written so many hit songs, it's ridiculous. So he kind of comes into this thing after we've written for a little while, and he gives us a fresh set of ears, and he goes, I really like this idea, but instead of that part you guys have there, what if we did this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got 6 people in a room that are all very creative and tons of ideas. So it's just been a blast, man. I can't explain it. And then when we get on stage, it's not a super group. It's almost like a boys club. It's like 5 dudes that have known each other for 30 freaking years. And we're just out having fun and waving the flag for the type of music that we grew up listening to. And
absolutely.
Not to get overly, I don't want to go too long with the answer, but it's even funny when we're in the dressing room before we go on, we always have a little speaker, like a speaker backstage, and iPods, iPhones, like all this stuff. And then we kind of let Brian will goof off and he'll be the DJ. And it's like, Karabi, what do you want to hear? And, it's like, I'll say Zeppelin, and, David Lowy will say AC/DC, and Marco will go the Beatles. And so it's just like this constant, we're still fans of the music. So, we're just kind of, I don't want to say waving the flag, but Marco always says we're waving the flag for the stuff that we grew up listening to. And that's it, man. We're just having fun. It's just fun. We've all just been blessed to, 30 years later, we're still able to make a living and tour the world and play for people all over the world and still be kind of fans. It's weird. The whole thing, I'm still pinching myself about the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yep. And does it feel to you as life as it should be?
Yeah, look, there's ups and downs in everything. This morning I got up and I walked to the bathroom and I fucking stubbed my toe.
Ow.
You know what I mean? It was like, that hurt, but whatever, life, it's great. For me, I'm in a great band like the Dead Daisies. I'm also very blessed to have another great band on my own solo band with my son as my drummer.
Indeed.
Yeah, I have 2 great kids. I'm remarried again. My wife is awesome. I have my business. She has a great business. We own a hair salon in Nashville. Life is good, man. I'm like, it's cool. I have 2 great dogs. I have great friends. I live in a great city, Nashville, and my career is going as strong as ever. And, so I'm good, man. Like, I don't need millions and millions of dollars. I'm very comfortable. I love what I do. I have my health. Everybody around me has their health. And, I'm getting ready to go on tour to support a new record.
Absolutely. It sounds exactly like that's where you're at. You're in the headspace of preparing to go on tour and just enjoy all the things that are waiting at home for you. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I have it tattooed on my chest in Italian. I'm Italian. But I have a tattoo on my chest that says, "Life is as it should be."
Absolutely.
Just work hard and, reap the rewards. And it's just, life is as it should be.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And of course, life as it should be in mind. I have to say that we're very humbled at Silver Tiger Media to be enshrined on the website as writing the first review for Live and Louder. But in all honesty, it was very, very difficult to write and try and muster the words that truly reflect how brilliant this album is and how it represents your live show. But the DVD that I hold in my hands now has taken that to an entirely new level. It's a whole other dimension. All the things you're describing about behind the scenes, we can go there with you. It's phenomenal.
And to be perfectly honest with you, you're kind of ahead of me on this one, because that's the one thing I can say about the Daisies and our brilliant management team. Another Australian lad named David Edwards.
Yes.
They are incredibly on top of the whole social media thing. So every day, whether we're in the studio, traveling, day off, whatever it may be, there is constantly a photographer or videographer with us, and they're just kind of filming, just even on days off when we're just sitting at a bar having a cocktail and just hanging out, being buddies. It's all documented. And that's the one thing that I've noticed with a lot of the fans, because I am on social media, but I can't, it's weird. Like, I kind of forget about it. Like I'm not real good with a computer. Um, the one thing that I've noticed though about the fans is they all come to me and they go, dude, it's so awesome to see what you guys are like personally. Like we see you guys every day, all day long, along the way, traveling, and your warm-ups for before the shows and during the shows and after the shows and the meet and greets, and we kind of feel like we're there with you. And I just think it's pretty awesome. It's really good, and that's my hats off to our management team and our PR team. Um, because let's face it, it isn't. The music industry isn't what it was in the '80s and '90s with MTV and radio and all that other stuff. So the bands that can kind of carve their niche with social media, they're the ones that are going to move forward and do their thing. And the Dead Daisies management has figured it out, and it's awesome. I'm just holding on. I'm just holding on for the ride.
Beautifully put. And look, with the DVD itself, you mentioned something just then that reflected or prompted my memory from the DVD. It's incredibly inspiring to hear your thoughts in relation to doing cover songs and your reasoning behind it. I mean, to hear you perform Fortunate Son is bucket list stuff. That is just sensational.
Yeah, you know what? And it's funny to me because a lot of people don't agree with it or get it, and that's fine. That's that's why they have chocolate and vanilla ice cream, because some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate, and but at the end of the day, I grew up in a different time, as did David and Marco and Brian and Doug, and and the bands that I grew up listening to, your bands like Aerosmith and the Rolling Stones, and I mean even Zeppelin. David Bowie, for God's sake, did an entire record of covers called Pinups.
Yes.
And it wasn't that unusual for a band like, Humble Pie to turn around and do an Ike and Tina Turner song called Black Coffee. Or it wasn't unusual for Grand Funk Railroad, literally a year or two after the Rolling Stones wrote and recorded and released Heartbreaker, Led Zeppelin, not Heartbreaker, Gimme Shelter.
Yes. Yep.
It wasn't unusual for Grand Funk to do it. It was like, oh, hey, that's a great song. Probably jamming it at sound check or, just at a rehearsal. And they played it, and it was a little bit of a different version, their spin on it. And they were like, wow, this sounds great. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
And a great song is a great song. And so that's the times that I grew up. I grew up watching, Foghat do an old blues song called I Just Want to Make Love to You. Or, you know what I mean? Half of Zeppelin's first record was old blues standards and covers. Van Halen was another one that had You Really Got Me. Then they did You're No Good and, Pretty Woman. And so I grew up in the 70s. I was going to concerts in the 70s, and I was seeing all these guys. So for me, I'm like, you know what? A good song's a good song. I love sure, I'll do it. Let's do it.
Oh, for sure. And look, honestly, I've got my breath held waiting to hear you perform Lady Stardust and the Rain song.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I just did an acoustic run all through Canada and the United States. And, it was funny. I just kind of, I did the run. And I'd go on stage and I would say, hey, we lost a lot of great artists last year, blah, 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 whatever. And I said, this is a record that kind of changed my life, man. I remember being a kid, seeing pictures of David Bowie and just being completely blown away at his image. And then buying a record called The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much every cover band I think I've ever been in, we did Ziggy Stardust or we did Suffragette City and all this other stuff. So anyway, I did an acoustic run and I went deep and I did Lady Stardust.
Wow.
And I did a little bluesier, and it was just me with an acoustic guitar. And I got to be honest with you, I wasn't sure if a lot of people would get it or even remember it. And that song, the minute I started playing it, everybody was like, "Oh my God, like totally remember that." Listening, I remember smoking a joint, sitting in my room with two of my buddies, and it's just nostalgia, man. And I think like anything that you can give the audience that triggers something, and again, like I was saying, we're still relatively a new band. We're not a household name yet.
Yet is the optimum word, yeah.
Yeah, so for us, it's just another thing like, hey, here's 3 or 4 of our songs. Boom, here's a cover. And they all go, I remember that. But, then 3 or 4 more songs. Boom, here's another one that we grew up listening to. Remember this? And, and the audience just, so I don't really see the harm in it. You know what I mean? We've been accused of doing, why do you guys do 2 cover songs on every record? I don't know, because we want to.
Yeah, absolutely, and it works so beautifully well. I mean, American Band, Maggie May, Ramble On, My Generation, it's all so superb. It's beyond words.
Yeah, that was, and again, that's us just doing, again, a bunch of songs we grew up listening to. That's us having some fun. And, but I'll tell you, one of the other things, it's crazy to me, when we did Midnight Moses, a lot of people, had no idea that was Alex Harvey.
Right.
So, and some people even wrote to me, they're like, dude, stupidest lyrics ever. Like, I'm running, danger, danger, danger. I wish I was a forest ranger screaming danger. What were you smoking?
Oh my God, really?
And then I go, check this out. And I just send him the link to the original version of the band with the mime makeup on, playing it live.
Yeah.
That's the band. That is a band that I grew up listening to. And that should have been bigger than they were. But whatever, and oddly enough now, we've become very good friends with Chris Glenn, who was the bass player.
Right.
And also Zal, the guitar player, has actually corresponded with me, and Richard Fortas was in the band for a while, so he wrote to Richard a few times, and and we're like, dude, and I'm a fan. Like, I get an email on Facebook from Zal Clemenson. I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, hey dude, big fan, love you, man. Like, I hope you're cool with our version. And he reposted it for us. He's like,
wow.
He goes, cheeky but quite good, you know what I mean? And so he was, he's really, really cool, and I just, to me, I grew up listening to that stuff. If I handed you my iPod right now, there's not a lot of new stuff on it.
Yeah.
It's all from the source. Alice Cooper, Deep Purple, David Bowie, Alex Harvey, like the entire Aerosmith, Queen, Beatles, Zeppelin catalogs, entire Deep Purple catalog, Grand Funk. That's what I grew up listening to. Free, Humble Pie. You can't top that. From 1966 to 1980, greatest 15 years in music ever.
Oh, agreed.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely agreed. Look, this really is a thrill for me. I could speak with you all day. I appreciate it very much. Do you think being such a fan of music is why you do so much for your fans? I mean, what you do is incredible.
Honestly, I have to give credit where credit is due. And the one thing that I really admire, even with me, when I do my solo things, like they're like, oh, do you need security? I'm like, no, I'm just going to do my show. I'm going to dry off for a minute. And then, well, are you going to do a meet and greet? Just tell everybody to meet me at the bar. And I'll go and I'll order a whiskey and I'll sit at the bar and I'll take my photos and I'll sign. When I do the cruises, I'm always at the bar, like just hanging out, talking with fans, having a whiskey or two, and just signing. That's what we're there for. And the one thing I have to say, like David Lowy, he put this band together. Obviously, you know David Lowey's history.
Yes.
He's a great, great songwriter, great guitar player, great guy. Million years, you'd never know anything about him if he didn't tell you.
Mm.
But he just said, look, man, these fans are spending their hard-earned money to come and see us play. A lot of times multiple shows all over Europe. And I mean, like, we'll see people in 3 or 4 or 5 different countries.
Wow.
So he goes, the least we can do is when we're done playing, dry off and go meet him at the merch table.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing.
We give them like some free stuff. Like, we always print up like some posters or something that we can sign, and we give them away. Here you go. But at the same time, they're doing for us, like, when they're standing in line, we're giving them a poster and a couple of guitar picks, and they're turning around and asking us to sign the shirt that they just bought and the merch. So David's like, why would I charge them for a meet and greet? I'll never do that. And I'm in total agreement with him. I think it's a genius thing, because a lot of these fans that we do meet can't believe that we're not charging them for, so they appreciate it. So
Absolutely.
It's just, that's us. We just, we're just kind of grateful to still be here, man. 30 years in this business is pretty impressive.
It is
so
indeed. Yeah, we're just
happy to
get
be
back
here.
To Australia.
Well, we can't wait to get back there, man. I had a great time. Every time I've ever been there, I've had an amazing time. And, we even spent a month down there doing the Revolution record.
Yes.
And you guys are just awesome. Even my wife says it. She's been to Australia a few times, and she's like, God, the Aussies are so cool. It's like they just want to drink. They want to have a good time. And it's like, the house is burning. Yeah, let me know when it gets to the bedroom. And it's like, we don't even care. You know what I mean? And you guys just have such a great spirit down there. So, I love coming down there. Even if it is an old prison colony, I don't care. I'm still going. I dig the shit out of you guys.
Well, we do too, out of you. And look, we've got the Dead Daisies Live and Louder released today. I'm compelled to say thank you. I'm convinced it will go into the annals of history as one of the great live albums of all time. I can't wait for the world to hear it and see the reaction. John, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, buddy.
My pleasure. We'll speak soon.
I hope so.
Tremendous. Travel safely, my friend.
All right, buddy. You too.
Goodbye.
Bye. 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 Bye.